The first time my mother said it, she didn't look at me. We've decided Caroline should have the cabin. It was said the way people talk about furniture. Something that can be moved, reassigned, placed where it's most useful. My sister sat across from her, quiet but not surprised. Her hands folded neatly as if she'd already adjusted to the idea. I waited for the rest of it. It just makes more sense. My mother added. You don't need it. Need. The word stayed there, between us, doing more work than the rest of the sentence. I thought of the cabin as it had always existed in my mind. Not as property, but as a place shaped by repetition. Summers that smelled like pine and dust. My grandfather teaching me how to fix the warped screen door instead of replacing it. The way he used to say, you don't throw away something that still holds. He hadn't said much about what would happen after him. But he didn't need to. Some things had felt settled. I thought he left it to me. I said. My mother finally looked up, her expression already arranged into something patient. Technically. But things change. Caroline shifted slightly, her voice soft. It's not a big deal. We can all still use it. We. The word didn't include me the way it used to. I didn't argue then. Not because I agreed. But because I recognized something in the room that wouldn't respond to argument. A kind of quiet alignment that had already happened without me. Can I see the paperwork? I asked. My mother hesitated just long enough to notice. It's all been handled. I'd still like to see it. She nodded eventually. But the folder she handed me later felt off. Not wrong in a way I could immediately point to, but unfamiliar. The language was cleaner than I remembered. Less like my grandfather, more like something translated into formality. I didn't say anything about it. Instead, I made copies. The decision to go to court didn't arrive as a single moment. It formed gradually, in the spaces between small confirmations. A signature that looked slightly compressed, as if traced rather than written. A date that didn't align with he had been in the hospital. Each detail on its own was explainable. Together, they weren't. When I filed, I didn't tell my family. There didn't seem to be a version of that conversation that wouldn't turn into something circular. They found out anyway. My mother called. Her voice tight but controlled. You're really doing this? I'm asking for clarity. You're dragging this into something it doesn't need to be. It already is. She exhaled sharply, but didn't raise her voice. That wasn't her way. You're going to regret making this public. The word public landed heavier than anything else she'd said. Then we'll both have to live with that. I replied. The courtroom was smaller than I expected. Not grand. Not intimidating. Just structured. Everything in its place, including the tension that followed us in. Caroline avoided my eyes when she passed me. My mother didn't. She looked at me directly, as if trying to hold on to something she had already decided. The process was slower than I imagined. Less dramatic. More precise. Documents were introduced. Dates reviewed. Language examined. The judge didn't interrupt often, but when she did, it was to ask questions that didn't leave much room to wander. This amendment, she said at one point, holding up a copy. When was it executed? My mother answered smoothly. A few weeks before he passed. And who was present? Notary myself, Caroline. The judge nodded slightly, then looked down again. And your father's condition at that time? He was declining. But lucid. Another pause. Do you have medical records to support that? My mother hesitated. Not long, but enough. Come provide them. The judge didn't respond immediately. She flipped through another document, then another. This signature, she said, almost to herself. It appears inconsistent with earlier records. No one spoke. She set the paper down carefully. Was there an earlier will? Yes, my mother said. But this one supersedes it. Of course, the judge replied. If it's valid. The room shifted slightly at that. An expert was brought in, someone who spoke without emotion about ink pressure, stroke patterns, timing. Words that turned something personal into something measurable. By the time he finished, the silence in the room felt different. Less uncertain. More directional. The judge leaned back, her gaze moving from the documents to my mother. Do you have anything to say? She asked, her tone even. Before I refer this matter to the district attorney. It wasn't loud. It didn't need first time. My mother didn't answer immediately. Caroline looked at her then, really looked, as if seeing her from a distance she hadn't considered before. My mother started, then stopped. There was no explanation that fit cleanly anymore. The moment stretched, not dramatically, but fully. Enough for everyone in the room to understand what had just shifted. I didn't feel relief. I didn't feel anything immediate at all. Just a quiet recognition that whatever had been holding this version of things together was no longer intact. The ruling came later. Technical. Clear. The original will stood, the cabin, legally, was mine. No one said anything to me as we left. Not my mother, not Caroline. Outside, the air felt unchanged. Which was almost surprising. I stood there for a moment. The papers in my hand lighter than I expected. I had what was mine. But the place itself, the cabin. The door that stuck in the summer, the chair by the window where my grandfather used to sit, felt different now. Not lost. Just altered. I got into my car without looking back. Some things, once clarified, don't return to what they were. They just become undeniable.